All right, we're here at South by Southwest EDU. Can you start by introducing yourself and your role?
Sure. I'm Shalin Jyotishi. I'm Senior Advisor for Education, Labor, and Future of Work at New America. We're a research organization in Washington, D.C.
So, your work centers on higher education, technology, and the workforce. How did you get into this line of work, and why is it important to you?
My background is actually in science and technology policy. I started my career thinking about how and why we fund science and technology as a society and how that creates jobs and leads to pathways to those jobs. In the course of that work, I realized that sometimes we don't create quality jobs and we don't create reliable pathways to those jobs in science and technology and even beyond it. And that's what motivated me to get more into the higher education and workforce development conversation, connecting college to careers.
So, your panel here at South by Southwest really focused on the conversation around whether or not college is a worthy investment. So, if you're speaking to a student or a family who is on the fence about whether college is the best decision or not in terms of return on investment, what would you tell them?
It's understandable. Return on investment is a really, really important mindset to have when navigating college. Costs are really, really high. But the fact of the matter is the data are clear. College is worth it. And because of AI, because of technology, that's increasingly going to be true. You may have seen announcements by companies and even governors dropping degree requirements for jobs. This has been talked about even at this conference. The data are clear. Hiring for a lot of workers without degrees is stagnant. It hasn't shifted. It's been a PR exercise. What we do know is that over a long term, over a lifetime, earning a quality degree in an in-demand program of study at a reputable public institution is the best bet to securing a spot in the American middle class.
So you mentioned that the introduction of AI into, the day-to-day of the workforce is making a college degree even more, necessary and valuable. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, absolutely. When you think about, AI affecting the workforce, there's sort of two categories. There's jobs in the AI industry as a prompt engineer or as an AI specialist. And then there's the rest of us who are not working in AI, but are going to be influenced by AI affecting our jobs, and by that very interaction, requiring new skills of workers to be able to navigate these new tools and leverage them to make our jobs hopefully better and more enjoyable. That's the goal. Because of that, the World Economic Forum, where I previously worked, has predicted that most occupations will have AI exposure within the next 10 years or so. And the Georgetown University Center for Education and Workforce has even predicted that the number of jobs requiring an associate's degree or a bachelor's degree is predicted to rise over the next 7 years. So the data are clear. It is a good idea to go to college. There's optionality though. If you're not ready or if you're not interested even in a traditional four-year degree path, there are alternatives to that.
So, if I am a high school student, how can I make sure that I am selecting a college, a major that is going to provide the best return on investment? And if I'm a college student, how do I make sure I'm getting the most out of my time at college to make it valuable?
It's a really, really good question. I think my first piece of advice is to really look at public institutions. It's not that private institutions offer a low return on investment all the time, but they do tend to be more expensive. The reason why we have public higher education in this country is because we have a belief that everyone needs affordable, accessible pathways to good jobs and a quality education. So, looking at public education offerings is a good first step. There are a lot of for-profit providers that have entered this marketplace over the past 10 years or so, especially in the non-degree credentials, micro-credentials, sort of shortcuts marketplace. Those pathways can work out. Don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater, but if you're looking as a whole, public institutions are a safer bet. And there's a lot of nuance to it. I think looking at what experience you're really wanting to get out of your college education. Are you looking to go into more of a research-oriented career, maybe a research university, a public research university like Penn State University is a good fit. If you're looking for, a career in the skilled trades, community colleges are colleges. It's time we move past this outdated mindset that college means sitting on a quad at a 4-year university as an 18-year-old, high school graduate. Today's college students are really diverse. They come from all different backgrounds, all different ages, and they have all different aspirations. So community colleges are a really great place to begin and end your college career. There are apprenticeship offerings at community colleges. There are high quality short-term training offerings at community colleges that could be a good jump start into a job, short-term training for short-term needs, that get you on the pathway to earning a degree later on, if you choose to do that, if you want to do that, and if you would need to do that for your career advancement. The last thing I'd say about selecting a college and sort of thinking about which programs are right is pick a college that has proven they have employers at the table as partners. When you see employers that have involved with program creation, providing equipment, thinking about how their specific needs are being taught within the classroom experience, it shows that the employer has skin in the game in the college program. And the last thing you want is to pay money to go to college, enter a program, graduate, and find out that you actually don't have the right skills that employers are looking for. Programs that have interview guarantees or even employers offering internships or work-based learning opportunities while you're within the program is a really, really good green flag in looking at a quality program. In terms of making the most out of your experience in college, I think there's no substitute for work experience. The best career preparation programs are ones that combine high quality classroom instruction, really interesting, engaging teachers, really, really interesting content and curricula formats, and combining that with hands-on real world experience. Make it a goal to have internships for both getting experience and skills in navigating a workplace, but also to figure out what it is you want to do in the long term. I'm a biology major. I don't work in biology today. It took a lot of internships when I was in college to figure out what my calling was, which is to work at this intersection of higher education, workforce, and tech policy. So those are some factors to consider both when you're selecting a program and when you're in a program to get the most out of your experience.
And so how does this narrative that college may not be worth it, which we at Philly Goes to College would of course challenge, but how does this narrative that college may not be worth it impact who ends up on a college campus?
I think this is a really scary thing. I think, if we look at the data of college going rates, wealthy, affluent people are choosing to continue to enter into degree-based programs. And working class people, people of color, are choosing not to enter into these programs. There's this narrative around white flight to a bachelor's degree, and that is really, really scary. It's scary for economic mobility in America. It's scary for economic sustainability in America. I'm really, really worried about what the narrative is sort of affecting, the mindsets of people over socioeconomic ladders. There's a really great Chronicle of Higher Education story about this, but, the fact that rich people are continuing and even paying a lot of money to game the system to get into some of the best institutions is sort of a signal of what value higher education still has in American society. There's a lot of problems with higher education. There are a lot of people working really hard to change it for the better, but the message right now should be go to college at a reputable institution in an in-demand program of study that really has these quality indicators that we talked about. Opportunities to do work-based learning, to get hands-on experience, to connect classroom experiences to what employer expectations are, so that you can increase the odds that you'll graduate with a good job day one.
And so our final three questions, these are our questions that we've been asking everyone. So first, what is your best college memory?
You know, I actually think my best college memory was when I was doing an internship. I was an intern in Washington, D.C. at a higher education organization, and for me that was really memorable because it sort of clicked for me what I wanted to do with the rest of my life. Before that, I was really aimlessly doing all sorts of things, doing all sorts of jobs on campus, all sorts of, experiences, all sorts of classes. When I did my internship, it really all just made sense. It clicked, and that's why I'm such a believer in combining real-world experiences with classroom learning.
Love that. And so what advice would you give to your high school self? It could be about college and career, or it could be about anything.
I would advise my college self to look at community college options. I think when I was in school, this whole incorrect mindset that community college is not traditional college was really, really prominent, and it's completely wrong. If I would have spent more time in community college before I went to a university, or even if I didn't choose to go to university at all, I would have saved money. I think I would have gotten an education that's more connected to the workforce, and I would have been able to have more opportunities to have those work-based learning opportunities that we had talked about, because community colleges are really embedded in workforce development systems in states. They work really closely with employers, they're really agile, and they can offer programs that are customized based on what the labor market needs are, in addition to what faculty member expertise are. The university setting, a lot of the curricula development in most places is primarily driven by faculty expertise alone, with maybe a little bit of input from some industry advisory committee members that they may have. So, I'm really grateful for my experience. I went to the University of Georgia. I love the University of Georgia, public institution, graduate through and through. But I would have challenged my younger self to look at community colleges and just how much value they could have added to my experience.
Okay, and final question, what is one thing you have heard at this year's South by Southwest EDU that is really exciting, interesting, and you're going to take away with you?
Yesterday I went to this session that was featuring some students, some high school students and some early college students. And the session was all about how educators and school administrators are turning to students to understand their needs and centering student-centered design into their work, thinking about how they can respond to student needs in terms of, basic needs, in terms of student success, in terms of career preparation. And that is really, really exciting. I think there's a need for higher ed and workforce policy people to get back in the classroom a little bit and get a little bit of taste of reality. And speaking with students and learning from student voice is a really important missing ingredient that I think is starting to come back, or I think starting to come about in this field of education reform, which is really exciting to see.
Thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Thank you.